recording also. Okay, so, sorry. Okay, so we are picking up Mir Tashem where we left off yesterday, which was we started to analyze the impact of the macha that the Ger Katan has the ability to make when he becomes a gadol. So we're going to start off with that and then move a little bit forward. Yesterday we noted that the sheet of the Rashba, the Ritva, many of the Rishonim is very, very clear from this question they ask about how in the world does this macha work? It's mavatel the geiros l'mafreya. Why do we ever somich on the geiros? Why do we allow get the kiddushin? Why do we allow shchita? Et cetera, et cetera. So the assumption that they were making, which they don't ever go back on, is that the macha is actually mavatel the geiros l'mafreya. The person was never a ger. Period. And again, we gave different explanations why that would be the case. We also saw yesterday the formulation of the Rambam, when the Rambam, when he spoke about the Ger Katan reneging on his Geiros, it was very clear that the Rambam used an expression about he downgrades to a Ger Tosha. Okay, he doesn't say there's an absolute regular guy anymore. There's some status of a ger toshav that's there. If you want to do a little bit more reading about or learning about a ger toshav, you're well advised to look at the back of the Chidush Griz on the Rambam, the back of the Bris Karav on the Rambam, where there are some letters that he has, like just stam like shtiklach, discussions in the very back of the sefer, not attached to any particular Rambam, which is the way most of the sefer is. And one of the pieces, if you look in the last 2 pages, one of the pieces about it is about what exactly a ger toshav is. That's probably one of the clearest, discussions about the status of a ger toshav. So take a look over there. But the Rambam is very, very clear, right? That the Rambam is very, very clear that the ger katan, who's mocha on his geros, like we said, is downgraded to a ger katan. So we saw yesterday, we mentioned yesterday, that the Bris Karav was quoted as saying that these words of the Rambam are stumim. And we're not really clear what exactly the Rambam means. It's not pasha what the pshat is, and that why doesn't it revert back to being a regular old guy? So that's the Bris Karav was heavy, major leagues in terms of understanding the Rambam. So it's fair to leave that as a tzarech niyun. We saw though yesterday also that Rav Nachman Bar Tzavitz, one of the great Magid Yeshir of the Mir Yeshiva, said that maybe, again, this is what the Rav said is not possible, but the way Rav Nachum wanted to suggest within the Rambam was that the Rambam might have held that in Achanami that the Geiros actually is not batil limafreya. When the guy makes a macha, doesn't totally cancel the initial original Geiros, but rather what ends up happening is that from now on, mikan ve'elach, the person loses his status as a ger, but it's only mikan ve'elach. So beforehand, the person actually was still viewed as a Jew, and there's a change in status from right now and on, but not more than that. Okay, that was a suggestion that was made. Now the Ma'aser we're going to start off with today, just moving along, within that discussion, is a very interesting diak in Rashi. Rashi right over here on the sugya. So Rashi points out by Higdilo יכולין Limchos. So says Rashi, יכולין Limchos Velomer, the ger can say, Ef Shein Aliyos Gerim. We don't want to be Gerim anymore. Chozim Lesuram, and they're going to go back to their older, their original state. Ein lanu la'onsham bebezdin. And we don't have to anymore give them punishments for things that they did wrong. Afilu yadeno tekifa, even if we had the strong arm, we actually were the dominant, government and power that was there. But still in all, we're not going to be manish that ger. And here's the key line in the Rashi: Im kidesh isha misha micha. And if he makes a kiddushin from the time he was moched on, eina tricha get liyos Yisrael mummer. He's not going to require a get. And we're not going to treat him like a Yisrael Mummer who was Mekadesh and Isha, where it is a good Kiddushin. No, if he's Mekadesh and Isha, Eino tzricha get. It's like you're marrying a guy. There's no issues at all. The kiddushin is not chal, and it totally doesn't work and doesn't mean anything. Now, once again, just since we were discussing Rav Nachum before, Rav Nachum made a very interesting diuk in this particular these words of Rashi. The truth be told, there's a sefer that is not so easy to get, but it does exist. There was a printing of one of the Rishonim called the Shita Yashana. Again, sometimes the Shita Yashana is quoted in the Shita Mukubetzes. But there actually is a sefer that's available called the Shita Yashana. Again, it's rare, but the Shita Yashana actually mamish speaks out this point that we're about to say. So the thing that Rav Nachum is medayik in Rashi, Lamaisa, Rashi or not, but Lamaisa is a Shita that's found in the Rishonim, namely that of the Shita Rishona. And that's like this. Rav Nachum is medayik in Rashi, a very simple diuk. Okay? Rashi writes in Kiddush Isha Misha Micha, if the person is Mekadesh the Isha Misha Micha from the time of his Machan on, Eina Tzricha get. Okay? Now what would have been according to Rashi? Let's ask the obvious question, make the obvious diuk here. Okay? What would have been the din according to Rashi? I'm asking you a question, so like we do the unmute and participate now. What does it sound like the din would have been according to Rashi if the Ger Katan was Makadesh the Isha when he was still a Ger, before he made the Macha, right? And then he makes the Macha when he becomes 13 years old. Does that Ger Katan require a get? Does the Isha require a get to totally cancel that marriage? What does it sound like Rashi is saying?
Probably not.
Probably not. So let's analyze the diuk that Aaron Wenger is making. Rashi uses the words im Kiddush Isha Misha Micha. If he's Makadesh a girl from the time of the Machan on, she doesn't need a get. And you're being medayik that if he's Makadesh a girl from before the Macha, that he also doesn't need a get? Where do you see that in Rashi?
Never mind.
Gotcha. Okay, never mind so much. But it was a good shot. So let's give it another shot. What's the diuk that we're aiming for in Rashi here? Somebody. Seabay, can you hear me?
Yes, sure, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you guys, I keep asking this every day, do you guys mind putting your pictures on? It makes it much easier to talk to you. We're getting there. Okay, Kavaldik. So Aaron Seabag, take it. Where'd you go? Seabag, take it. Nasser, well, that's a crazy thing. Haircut, shave, wow. Like some new, like, that you're Tishler at first when you first walked on. I don't know why, but that reminded me of him. Okay, so Aaron Seabag, what's the diuk we got in Rashi? If he's Mekadesh, the girl, Misha Micha, from the time of the Macha, she doesn't need a get at all. The Kiddush is totally no good. Diuk is, but rather if the Ger Katan was Mekadesh, the girl, before the Macha, right? They're already married, and then he makes a Macha, what's going to happen then? The clear diuk in Rashi is that
that she would need a get because
that she would need to get, right? That she would need to get. Now, if we look at Rashi like that, right? Again, there's a diuk that was planted in that Rashi. Okay, so you got to now ask yourself a question. Well, why is that true? Right? What do you mean she needs a get? Right? And the nafkamina of the macha is that if he's mekadeshar from now on, misha micha, we don't have to give the get at all. But kodem shemicha, you would require a get. That simple diuk in Rashi. So why is that true? Right? After he made the macha, right? Certainly the way the Rashba and the Ritva were learning was that lemafreya, it's this barrier that the Gerus was never chal at all, and he's been a goy his entire life. So of course he doesn't need a get, because lemaisa there's no ishus, there's no kiddushin by a goy. So we can infer perhaps from that diuk in Rashi, right? We're making a mashmos based on a diuk in Rashi that it sounds the paship shot. The Rashi saying is that the truth be told, once he makes the macha, it's not true that he was a goy limafreya. That's not true according to Rashi. He might be a goy mikanu lahaba, right? The Machat cancels the Geras, but it doesn't mean that the Geras never ever took place Meikara. And all that time that he was a Ger Katan until the Machat, we actually view him as a Yisrael Gomer. Vilachein, and therefore Rashi says to us over here, right, that at least the implication that's there in Rashi, had the Kiddushin been made prior to the Machat, there was actually a Kiddushin. So now we have a very interesting scenario. Let's because it's actually fascinating. Like I don't think you can find this anywhere else. I'm just giving you a challenge. If you can find me another example, I'd be very interested in hearing this. This is a fascinating Lamdisha construct over here. Again, I'm coming back to my May friends over here. I mean, they're all my friends, but they May friends out of the group. How many ways can a person be mevatel a marriage? She's kones atzma be. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, and what are the two ways in Isha can be kones atzma?
Yeah, in Misa. Misa Baal.
Or
Chalitza?
Here's where we plug because I can't hear you. What's the second way? Get or?
There's Misa.
Misa Sabal.
Misa Sabal. Gavaldi. Okay. So look at this. What happens over here? Okay. The Ger Katan was Makadesh and Isha. Okay. By the way, it's a machlokas and Rishonim if a Katan can make a Chalos Kiddushin by himself. That's a machlokas. It happens to be Rashi Shita is it's a Rashi in Yavamos that a Katan can make a Kiddushin. This is a Rashi L'shitasa over here. Okay, but that's good. Okay. What happens when you have a Kiddushin? Okay, there's a Chalos Kiddushin on a girl. Okay, and then the Baal just doesn't exist anymore. Okay, he didn't die. There's no Misa Sabal, right? What do I mean he doesn't exist anymore? Because once the guy made the Macha, according to Rashi, what just happened? He becomes a guy mikan ulahaba, right? But by a guy, there's no parish of kiddushin at all, right? So the husband that used to be her husband just transformed into something else. Right? He's no longer the husband anymore. But what happens then, right? What's the din in such a way? There's no misas abal. The Baal didn't die. He just moved on in life. He just, right? When I say disappeared, I don't mean like he got on a plane and flew away. Then the Baal exists. He just, right, somewhere else, and he's being bad by making the wife an aguna. Here the Baal exists. The guy's alive. We know exactly where he is. He's maybe living next door, right? But in din, he's a totally different person right now. So and a person who's not shaykh to have issues with. So what happens in that scenario? Okay, so this is a fascinating point that Rashi makes. Here you have a girl who was an Eishes Ish, right? And she already became a surah as an Eishes Ish, but right now in her current state, she has no Ish. Right? What I mean, meaning like the husband just poofed out of halachic existence. So what does Rashi tell us has to happen? She still though needs, if she wants to be muteres to marry somebody else, what has to happen?
Need to get.
We require a get. So why do we need a get though over here? Because her status of an Eishes Ish, even though the husband is not really the husband, like he's someone who's not shaykh to have issues with, but since he didn't die, right? So we don't have the heter of Misa Sabal anymore, right? So what heter do you have to be mad to the girl to marry, even though her husband ceased to exist legally, right? Even though
How does the
physically.
goy give a get?
What was that?
How does the goy give a get?
So Rashi has a very interesting idea over here, right? That's exactly what's happening. One can maybe tiny this is a din d'Rabbanan, maybe yes, maybe not. Hard to know what exactly that is, right? But it could be on a deraisa level. Maybe we view the guy, becoming a guy. Maybe that's the equivalent of a misa sabal, right? Maybe we would say that, and that absolves the ishas. Maybe it's only d'Rabbanan because the guy is still alive, right? But where Rashi is implying though over here that this girl would require a get on whichever ramah it's going to be, in order to remove her isur as an H's ish. There's one possible other example. You have such a thing. Do you remember what it was? I don't think it's exactly the same thing, but let's just jolt your memory. It was a dark and it wasn't stormy yet, but that would sound better for the story. It was a dark and wet and cold night, standing on a hilltop in a dark cemetery somewhere in Poland. Like jolting anyone's memory.
Bill Magone.
In Lublin.
In Lublin, okay. And whose kever did we trek up a dark?
The Marshal.
The Marshal. What happened? What was it? The mice with the Marshal?
That
The
he
guy
made a
who wouldn't
ruling
get-
that the guy could
Get
marry his
Get
wife.
remarried.
Huh?
He brought the guy back to life.
Yeah,
the
that whole
guy
situation.
died,
That was
came back
fun.
to life, whatever, right? So if you remember there, and maybe you remember, maybe you don't, but I mentioned to you that there's a tshuva in the Rivash quoted by Rabbi Chanan, who discusses what's the status of an Eishes Eliyahu, or Eishes Chanoch, the people who, not our Chanoch, but the people who just like moved into a different existence. Eliyahu never died, right? Chanoch never died. Lakach Osa Elokim, Eliyahu was Allah Hashemayma. And what is that? So there's the Rivash, there's Rabbi Chanan who discussed that. So there you might have a little bit of a precedent for a discussion of someone who, again, there's no technical misas about. So what's going to be their status? The reason why this is a little bit different is because the person actually physically exists. Like here, Yitaka didn't die. Like the only thing that happened was that his halachic status was changed. This might be even like more of a reason to think that she's an Eishes Ish than those stories about the people coming back to life and or disappearing and all those kinds of things. Okay, so let's move on. So right now we were Medayik and Rashi, and so we're marking this as a machlokus in the Rishonim by Ger Katan, whose mocha on the Geras was the Geras batil lemafreya. They're only mikan ulahaba. The Rashba, the Ritva, very clearly saying this is even lemafreya. They're not going to be bothered if the guy was Makadish and Isha before the Machat, to the Rapashad, according to them, that there's no requirement of a get, because Lamais was never an Ishas. According to Rashi, it's not like that. According to Rashi, and possibly the Rambam, the Macha only is effective Mikan Ulahaba, and each one of them had their own little, like we said, discussion or issue that was there. Let's quickly point out, once again, I'm just trying to run through our Mamakomos list. Let's quickly point out that in Numbers 9 and 10, we saw a discussion, excuse me, that the Ritva and the Rashba bring about this question that we touched upon parenthetically about, this whole institution of the possibility of a macha sounds very, very dangerous. It doesn't mean that we're all ochlan avelos lemafreya if we've been eating from this person's shchita for the past X amount of years, and now we know that he's talking not Jewish, like that. So once again, according to Rashi and the Rambam, those kashas aren't going to be kashas, but according to the Rashba and the Ritva, they're fair questions. So the Rashba and the Ritva themselves both basically told us that you're right. That could be like a really sticky issue. The only thing is, we're never choshesh for that. We don't have to assume. We're not going to be nervous or scared, that the person is going to decide that he wants to be a goy, later on. The Rashi speaks about a chazaka. We're so mechan on a chazaka. Chazaka, that if he was brought up in a certain way, and that's what he was doing with his entire life, mistama, he's going to want to remain Jewish when he gets to the age of gadlus anyway. Okay. Shuv lo yimcha mistama, he's not going to be moche at all in the slightest bit. That was the that was the idea. The Ritva brought this option up a little bit stronger, although the Rashba mentioned it in passing. But the Ritva, if you remember, has a very, very interesting possibility. Again, he himself rejects it, but the Ritva is a very, very interesting possibility. I'm pulling it up in my Kobe's over here. The sheets are not so easy for me to use. I just not that's into computer stuff. But the Ritva brings a very interesting idea, where he says that Yesha Shapirshu she'ein geiros hazeh ela midivrayim ve'ein somchem laduno ki Yisrael ela le'inyanei nesech v'kol shehu midrabbanan. And the Ritva says the reason why people think that, right, is that's an easy way to materiate this question. Since the Ger Katan has the ability to be mocha and get out of everything, that would be ludicrous then to actually think that we're going to be so make the kula and say that he can make a kiddushin, that he can give a get, that he can make a shchita, and all the things that are actually doraisa dik in yanim. So it says the Ritva, some people say, you're right. We can never possibly get ourselves in such a sticky situation, and therefore we're only going to rely on the Ger Katan, Gerus, Le'inyan, Dine D'Rabbanan, that maximum, if I make a mistake about those things, it's not the end of the world. Okay, that was the idea that was there. Now again, right? Let's make it clear that this pshat of the Ritva is not really the same thing that Tosfos said when Tosfos said that the Gerus is only a Gerus midivrayim, right? Tosfos is telling us that the Gerus is not even a good Gerus at all, right? And it's the Chazal let as Zachan Adam Shalom B'fanav, the Takana D'Rabbanan that allows them to do a schus for the Katan makes the Ger Katan into a Ger, and therefore the Ger is only Jewish midivrayim. Okay? The Ritva over here is telling us not like that. The Ger Katan is a Gerus D'Oraisa, right? He's actually Taka a Jew. The only problem is I have a concern, I have a fear, a chashash. What's going to happen if he shechs and I use that shchita, which I can, right? But later on he's moche, and now his bara double mafreya, that the guy was an akum, and I'm eating a shchitas akum, which is a nevela, and therefore the Ritva says to avoid that particular not good scenario, the Ritva said treat the person as a Jew only legabe dine d'Rabbanan. We're playing Russian roulette, right? Because he's still not being a goy, but that's okay. Right? When it comes to those in Yanim, we might be more makel about. And again, the Ritva himself says I don't think that's true. He offers the same time that the Rashba said the Gemara doesn't at all even allude to the idea. We're only samich on this gerus like Abbei Dine D'Rabbanan. So the Ritva basically then comes on to the same teretz as the Rashba. Let's make a very, very quick point over here that's important to understand, and that's as follows. Why is it, okay, according to this first pshat in the Ritva, that because of this question, the chashash of maybe he's going to become a goy l'mafreya, right, that we're only willing to rely on his gerus when it comes to Dine D'Rabbanan. Now, which the understanding is, the pshat, right, understanding is that because on those things that are D'Rabbanan, if it turns out he's a guy, it's not so bad. Right? So I was over in Issa D'Rabbanan, okay? But let's explain perhaps a little bit more why that's true. In other words, this is not just a way to diss on a D'Rabbanan and say, oh, it's only D'Rabbanan, we don't really care. You can, maximum you'll be over on a D'Rabbanan. Right, so first of all, let's remember, right, that there's the entire institution of Sveika D'Rabbanan being Lakula, right? So right now I have the person who's a Ger Katan, right? And you're asking me to be Choshesh, right? Then maybe he's going to become a Goy L'Mafreya. So what I want to know right now, can I eat the wine? It's going to be a bad phrase. Can I drink the wine that the Ger Katan just touched? We say, well, what are you worried about? That you're going to find out in a year that he's a goy and this is Yayin Nesech? You don't know that that's going to happen. So what at maximum you're doing with a suffix Isser that you're doing about an Isser D'Rabbanan, so I'm allowed to be Mekel. When I want to know, on the other hand, can I eat the meat that he shechts, right? So there we might have said, well, but there's a problem. He might become a goy. It's a suffix. Is this going to be considered an avela or not? Is this considered shchitas akum or not? A suffix d'oraisa. I have to be machmir. I have to be machmir on. Okay. One perhaps could have looked at things like that. Again, then you have to get into the questions of you could use such a svara when it comes to a get, right? I'm not going to be matir and Ashes Ish like that because I don't know, maybe it's a fake of the rice. Is she still an Ashes Ish or not? Or maybe he's a goy, and then what do you call it? And then you have a problem. Maybe not. We don't really know what do you call it? If the get would have been kosher, that was was delivered or written by that person. By a kiddushin, right? To say that are they married? Okay, you have to again figure out what are the inyanim that are a suffix l'chumra or not. There's another passage of pshat over here also that in that idea of the Ritva that we're going to be so meich on the Ger Katan, Lagabi dinim dirabanan, because maximum, right? If he is mocha on the Geros, all I violated was an Isser Drabana. Maybe that there's another extra added edge over here. Why that's Bechlan not a problem. Not even, it's even more strong and more a non-issue, greater than the just relying on Sveka Drabana Lakula. And that's as follows. It's a very, very famous Nesivus. The Nesivus has the Yesod, where he discusses one quick nafkamin. He says at the beginning of the Nesivus. The Nesivus says as follows: if a person violated a din derabanan b'shogeg, he accidentally was over and under. He thought it was mutter, and then it turns out, I didn't realize that was actually usher to do. Says the Nesivus, that person does not require tshuva for that at all. There's no inyan of doing tshuva when you accidentally were over on an isser derabana. Come Yom Kippur, I don't have to do Yom Kippur for that. That's not a problem. An isser deraisa that you did b'shogeg needs a kapara, right? But an isser derabanan b'shogeg doesn't. Why? So says the Nesivus is a very, very famous and fascinating yesod. The yesod of the Nesivus is that the base for all dinei derabanan, okay, is not that the maisa is actually usher that they're telling you not to do, and it's not that the chefza of the food that they might have ushered is usher to do. That's not true by dinei derabanan. The whole yesod of a din derabanan is based on the pasuk in Parashat Shoftim. Don't veer from what the Chazal tell you to do. Meaning we're mechuyev to follow the Rabbanan. We're mechuyev to follow and listen to the dinim that Chazal were misaken. Says the Nesivus, so the entire idea of the Rabbanan is I can't be mored, I can't rebel against the Rabbanan. You can't not listen to them. You have to follow the Rabbanan say. Well, let's say it was a mistake. There was an accident. I actually didn't know that this thing was usher midrabanan. I picked up the cup of wine and I thought it was kosher wine, the Pepsi Max. I thought it was kosher wine, and then it turns out, it was really yayin nesech midrabanan. It says in the Nesivus, but you didn't intend to violate an isser. You weren't trying to be over. You weren't trying to be over on a derabanan. You didn't think you were rebelling against Chazal. You thought you were drinking kosher wine. So it says in the Nesivus, there's no tshuva that you need for that. And you didn't do the act of not listening to Chazal. That being the case, I think that's a very, very pasha pshat for this ritva over here as well. When the ger was a ger katan, before he made the macha, right? I'm totally he's a ger. I'm drinking the yayin that he touched, or whatever the other isser rabbanan that might be engaged in. Now later on he was mocha, and lemafreya turns out he's not Jewish, right? But I'm not bothered by the fact that I drank yayin nesech midrabanan, right? Why not? Because I didn't do anything wrong with that. When I drank the wine, I was listening to Chazal. I didn't rebel against Chazal. He was a ger katan. He's a ger midaraisa. There's nothing wrong with that. Is it derabana, the deraisa rather, right? Where the actual chefza is usher, or where there's an iser deraisa on the gavra, you're just not allowed to do that act regardless of what the act is. The act is usher, not the implication of am I listening to or not listening to the Rabbana. So there the Ritva tells us, according to this Shita, right, that we're not going to be samich on the geras of the ger katan because you always have to be worried. Maybe I'm going to end up doing an aveira lemafreya. When I ate the meat, I thought it was okay. It doesn't matter because if lemafreya you find out that it was an aveila, lemaisi, you ate an aveila. There's no two ways about that. By the din derabanan, we're never going to say lemaisi you drank yayin nesech. You didn't, right? Because the entire chefza shel iser of the derabanan is the adhering to or rebelling against the dictates of the Chazal. So that's a perush over here within the Ritva. Okay, let's move on a little bit. and we're going to talk about how this macha works. When exactly are we making the macha? What's going on over here? So, I was moving on to the next stage of the Gemara. So the Gemara says, as you know, הגדילו יכולין למחות. Right, when they become gedolim, they're allowed to make a macha. And then Abai comes along and asks his question. And the Gemara says at the end of the day, kevan shehigdila sha'achas v'lo michsa, if you became a gadol for a sha'achas and you didn't make a macha, shuv ein yechol limchos, henceforth you are not allowed to be mocha. The macha is ineffective from that stage in the game, and it doesn't do anything. The Tosas Yeshanim on the side of your Gemara, again, I'm assuming you have a regular Shas Vilna or the Ozmahadar has a place somewhere. You have to file some sign or footnote. But the Tosas Yeshanim here asks a basic kasha on the sugya that the Rishonim speak about. The Tosas Yeshanim says kasha imkein masai teida shas hamacha. How can you ever know when that macha is supposed to be taking place? Abakatnos ein yechol limchos. We learned over here that when you're bekatnos, you can't make a macha. Kevin shehigdilo yecholim limchos. So, and when you become a gadol and you didn't make a macha in the initial moment, right? That's also no longer a macha. So when am I allowed to make a macha? How could that be? So Tosas Yeshanim himself says on the spot, V'yesh lomer kigon sheyischila minagegeyos yom lefnei gadlusa v'chein naga yom yomayim la'achar gadlusa. So he says what happens is that if the person began acting like a goy, you're maschil the minagegeyos the day before the gadlus, and he continued doing that on afterwards, right? So that was the day, the day before bar mitzvah, you shaved off your head, shaved off your payas, got some good, tattoos, went out for some tarifas, and you just went all the way with the whole, goyish and whatever it is, right? You started listening to, to who knows what music. It might have been all the regular goyish music, Avram Fried, Ben Marche Medevi, Liba Schmelzer, all the regular goyish style music, and and that's what you were, and that's what the guy was doing. So basically, what he says is you're covering your bases, right? That you started the macha early, but that didn't work yet. But you were able to cross the magic line when you were for sure making a macha. So that's the pashup shot, right? That the Tosas Yeshanim brings down over here about the macha. You also saw, right? You saw this yesterday, right? That the Rashba, that was your first Rashba that you learned, basically says over the same kind of a principle, that the macha is getting made from before the gadlus, right, and into that. So the Tosas Yeshanim speaks about you were noeg a minhag geyos. The Rashba speaks about being mocher. You're just screaming and yelling and saying, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, and then you cross over that line with there. But two sides of the same coin, two ways of doing the same thing. Now we're going to look carefully over here. I'm going to skip around the order of the Rambam just for a moment. Don't lash out against me for that. And let's take a look at the Tosas Yiras Lechi Gadla. Okay. So Tosas here says something very interesting. The Gemara, right, as you remember, asked the kasha about the ksuba, right? How could it be that I give a ksuba to this girl when she gets divorced? It says in the Mishnah you would get a ksuba, but you're going to be giving a ksuba to a shiksa. Why would you do that? And the Gemara says, oh no, you give it lechi gadla. You give it when she becomes a gedola. And the Gemara says, but even so, she can be mocher, later on, and then you're weiter giving the ksuba money to the shiksa. Right, so the Gemara comes up with the line, no, kevin shegila shoachas, etc. Says Tosas lechi gadla v'im tomer. I don't get it though. Tosas says, hello kfar gedolahi shehi naira kevin shehi bas kines. We're speaking about what it says in the Mishnah, right? Again, what it was going our Mishnah, Giyoros hashivuya v'ashivcha shenivdu shenisgayuru, etc. they get ksuba or they get knas, right? That was the Mishnah that was in the beginning of Perek Elo Nairis. As Tosfos, you give knas, right, for the ma'anis, a naira hamu'urasa. But if she's a naira hamu'urasa, that means she's already past the threshold of the age of 12. So if that's the case, then she, once again, I'm back in this kind of a position of what do you call it? What's her status right now? What's her status? Says the Ri, no. The chi gadol means you can give her knas, right? When we actually know, when we actually see and can observe and know that she's acting like a Jew, okay? That she's acting like a Jew. Meaning, yes, Tosa says, she's a naira, she's already past the bas mitzvah age, of age 12, okay? And when the Gemara, even in the beginning, is suggesting the idea that you can only give her the ksuba or the knas after she's a gedola, but she's over that age. That's true. And explains the Tosfos, but I'm only going to give her that money when I see that she's acting naga minag Yehudis. Okay, there's a very similar Tosfos Rush and a Rash Mishant over here on our Gemara also, and they say this a little bit clearer, okay, than the Tosfos does. That there's a new shita over here, a new concept of what exactly this macha is that we're speaking about. And that's as follows. Okay, we're gonna explain what Tosfos here says, just based on a quick flashback to the the Tosfos Yishanim and the Rashba we just discussed. According to them, okay, you have to make some form of a macha. There has to be an active protest. The guy has to actually verbalize, "I don't want it." Right? That's what the Rashba spoke. The Tosfos Yishanim said you have to act, right? A positive act of a minhag geyus. You have to be acting like a goy. In other words, according to both of them, the macha is that you made a macha. Okay, as they were saying in Yiddish, machta macha. Okay, what would have happened according to them? Okay, if you did nothing. Okay, meaning to say, your bar mitzvah time comes along. Okay, I'm just giving like a random example. Over here, bar mitzvah time comes along, and I'm in the shower. Okay, why am I giving the example of it? I'm in the shower when the exact moment of Tzeis HaKochavim and by my bar mitzvah night comes.
Because you're not allowed to think about Hashem or anything like that.
Your parents is taking a shower.
Get some life. And why am I giving that example? At that critical moment, the guy's in the shower.
Because preparing for Shabbos always the last moment.
No, because you're not allowed to think about anything like Hashem in the bathroom.
What was that?
Because you're not allowed to think about like the Kabbalas mitzvahs or any.
I go, even what you're speaking about is something in your mind. I'm speaking of something practical right now. When the guy's in the shower,
you're by yourself. There's nobody else.
Here's the moment where we're gonna quote from the generally speaking incorrect statement that the founding fathers of the United States of America said: when you're in the shower, all men are created equal. Meaning to say, okay, there's nothing you are doing that is actively demonstrating a minhag Yehudis or a minhag of geyus or a minhag of being a goy. You're not wearing a yarmulke because, how about that? You're not wearing a yarmulke because you're in the shower, so he doesn't got that on. Yeah? He's not wearing a pair of tzitzis because you're in the shower. Okay? You're not washing your tilas yadayim right now because you're in the shower. You're not eating, you're not making bracha because you're in the shower. What would the guy be doing in the shower at the same exact time? All the same exact thing, right? It's indistinguishable.
Same thing.
At that moment. Okay? So here's the idea.
He has a bris.
Right? Again, but the bris took place before. There's no way to either have her. There's not acting like a Jew or acting like a guy. The idea now is as follows. According to the way we just understood in the Tosfos Yishanim, or in the Rashba that you read, right? If you're in the shower, right, crossing over that threshold of 12 to 13, okay, and it's a long shower, okay, it's like an hour-long shower, okay. So it's for sure a sha'achas, the kol hadayas, after your bar mitzvah time. You didn't make any macha, but you also didn't do anything positive to demonstrate that you want to be Jewish. Okay? According to them, what happens? Or better yet, let's give a better example. Okay?
And you're stuck. That's it.
You have a guy out at a Sunday afternoon baseball game at Citi Field. Okay? With his baseball cap on and a beer in his hand. Okay? Yeah? Don't take this the wrong way when I'm about to say this, or you can substitute whatever your home teams are. You're indistinguishable at that moment, right, between the Jew or the guy. Okay, let's sit this for a second. I'm just trying to paint an example, right? You got your cap on, you got whatever it is. I'm in a neutral state. I'm not doing anything Jewish. I'm not doing anything Goyish right now. I'm not doing anything Goyish right now. So according to the Tosas Yeshanim and the Rashba, okay, the Pashas, we would say shtika ka'udah. If you didn't make a macha to cast off the geros, to cancel the geros, then you're a Jew because you didn't make a macha. You hear what I'm saying? What Tosfos though just told us, right? When Tosfos described what makes the person into a Jew, the Farish read lechigadol v'naga minag Yehudis. And again, this is spelled out by the Tosas Yeshan, by the Tosa Rush and the Rash Mishanto, the Tosa Rashbi here also. That unless the person acts like a Jew, it's not enough to have a passive macha. I didn't say anything and shtika koda. He didn't say he doesn't want to be a guy. So so mistama he wants to be a Jew. No, you have to demonstrate that you want to be a Jew. Right? So the Tosa changed the Pasha meaning of the Gemara. Okay, that lechigadlo or kevan she'higdilo shachas v'shulam michsa. That means you have to show that you're that you're going to be Jewish. So if you're in that harvest state, right? The guy didn't make a macha, but he also hasn't acted Jewish. So now he has a time frame where he's still good to go, right? I don't know how this would happen exactly, but if I'm just a theoretical example, if a day goes by, a whole day, right, where nothing happened, he didn't make a macha, but he also didn't do anything Jewish. It's like a day in the life of a early Shana Alka in a different yeshiva. Okay, he didn't do anything Jewish that day. There was no davening, there was no learning, there was no whatever it is that went on. Okay, but he didn't make a macha either. Right? Nothing. He didn't get up and say, "I'm out of here. I'm not interested in Yiddishkeit." So we're being medayik and Tosfos that the person has the right to be mocher, right, until we see that he's acting as if he's Jewish. And when he acts as if he's Jewish, that's a kiyum on the gears, but we don't take a passive shtika as meaning it. And according to the Tosas Yeshanim and the Rashba, you have to make a macha, right, in order to lose your Yiddishkeit, and a passive not doing anything, right, makes the person Jewish already. We assume that the geras is going to be chal as it was done from beforehand. Now, let's move ahead a little bit. I see we're not going to finish everything. I was really hoping we would. I see we're not going to. Did guys get past number 14 today?
Yeah, we finished everything.
What was that?
Yeah, we finished.
Okay, who just said that? Wait, I couldn't hear or see. I still can't hear and see. Okay.
I did. I'm not finished.
Okay, you finished that whole piece from in 19 also. That's long. Wow. Okay, good. So let's roll a little bit over here. The Tosas Rid says something that's also, I don't want to call it mind-boggling, but it's certainly a tremendous chiddush. What the Rid brings down over here on the other side. So let's read inside. I'm going to read the whole piece. Yosef higdilu perish katanim shenizgayro afilu imavihen the Yecholim Limchos, Perush, Yecholim Lomer Ef Sheno Liyos Gerim, Ve'ein Lano La'on Sham Bebezda, Ve'afilo Yedeno Tekifa. He goes on, V'im Kidesh Isha Mishamicha, Eina Tzricha Get Liyos Ki Yisrael Mummer, okay? Similar deal to what we had in Rashi. And I listen to what he says over here. V'davka Shelo Hikiyu L'chal Shtei Cyrus. This idea that you make the macha, okay? That's when you got to the point of shtei cyrus, when the person became an actual gadol. Of imigdilu v'lo michu, but if they became gedolim, okay, and didn't make a macha, ein yocholum limchos, they can no longer make a macha. V'im michu harein ki yisrael mummer v'kidusha v'kidushin. And if he makes a macha after the time of gadlus, it doesn't count anymore. He can become a mummer, he can just mess himself up, right? But Lamaisi, he's Jewish. Says the Tosas Rid, V'higdilu de Rabbi Yosef, lav davka shaba'u l'klal onshim. It doesn't mean that you actually became bar mitzvah age, where we're b'chalal onshim, that we can be mechayiv for something. The shaba'u l'klal das, v'adayin lo ba l'klal onshim. Says the Tosas Rid, what we're speaking about over here is a very interesting scenario. Right? The person has the right to make a macha. Now when he becomes a gadol in the bar mitzvah age, kind of a scenario, but the person can make the macha the moment that he's able to make a macha, right? That he's able to actually say something. So once he becomes a bar das, whether that's the stage of a mufla samach la'ish that we had earlier on, at 12, the year before his bar mitzvah, a girl earlier, right? Then the person has the right to make a macha. When can he not make a macha anymore? Right? So that's where the Tosas Rid said earlier, if he got shtei cyrus already, right, then already you can't make a macha. You can't make the macha at all. So Higdilu gives you the option, if you're a bardas, to make a macha, right? You can make the macha, but to be stuck and to say that it's too late, you can't make a macha, that requires das. Now let's just very, very quickly point out, right, that as much as you would learn, like we were describing yesterday, that the macha is a way of showing that the zechiyah that you did on my behalf isn't really a zchus from me. I'm not interested in that, right, as we were describing yesterday. Okay, so it's not so crazy what the Tosas Rid says, when the person becomes an official bar das, okay, that we actually recognize that his opinions matter and mean something, regarding the Durham, other things. So then we would say, okay, you know what, but this guy is saying it wasn't his chus, right? So he didn't want it. So how can we make a zach and adam shalom b'fanav and make him a geir if he feels it wasn't his chus for himself? Okay, right? So there's no, and on Saturday that he wants this, he's saying he doesn't want it. And that's so vertical. And that's not going to work. That's not going to work. On the bottom, again, I don't know how to print your Gemaras, but there's a Haggah on the bottom of the Tosas Yisham. This is written by the Cheshuk Shlomo. The Tosas Rid, rather, at the bottom of the Haggah, the Tosas Rid says, "V'divrei Rabbeinu Elo nesiyashiv kushas the Tosas Yishanim kan v'dibur maskil kasha." And he points out very correctly that the Tosas Rid just gave us a tremendous loophole over here to answer up this kasha that the other Rishonim were asking, right? Which is that it's actually now the system is pretty easy to use. He can make a macha when he's technically speaking a katan, as long as he's a bardas, right? So, and then he can't any longer make a macha once he becomes a gadol in the sense of being someone who's chayiv in onshim, right? And in that way, there actually is a real legitimate time frame in which the macha could be taking place. So you don't have to come on to the Tosas Yishanim's ukimta or the Rashba's ukimta if he's making like a hope prolonged macha. You don't have to come on to Tosas' chiddush that it's not that you're making a macha. You have to confirm your yiddish. You have to act in a minhag Yehudis, right? So maybe you can go over the 13-year-old line according to Tosas and not yet lose any right to make a macha, etc. But let's see. Did he act like a Jew or act like a goy from that stage and on? And the Tosas Rid is saying something different. He can make the macha earlier, but he only loses that right at the time he actually becomes a bar mitzvah at the age of 13. Now, let's point out very quickly because we have like a minute or minute and a half left over here. So let's jump to the finish line. You can ask a very simple kasha, which I'm sure is bothering you on the Tosas Rid, that there's like a miman of shach over here. Right? Why is the rule the way he's saying it? If we look at the macha as being a legitimate macha from the age that it becomes a bardas, let's say for a boy at 12 years old, right? Like the bardas, the koladeos, right? So then, like, why wouldn't we say, similar to what other mafarshim said, that if you don't make the macha right away when you're able to, that you can't make a macha anymore, right? What is the idea of wait until he's 13 accomplish? You following the kasha? Because according to all the other Rishonim, it's a black and white issue. Before bar mitzvah, right, his day doesn't make a difference to us. After bar mitzvah, he was already makabel. So what do you do? Right? How do you work it? According to Tosas Rid, right, we see that he's trying to separate the two times, but it's not clear why. If I'm able to make a macha at age 12, and I didn't, right, then that's a confirmation that the person wants to keep his geiros, that it was his chus for him, right? You follow the idea. So why does he only lose the right to make the macha when he hits the age of 13? So what's the pshat behind that? So one way of explaining is, again, we're just rushing quickly through over here. One way of explaining is going to be as follows. There's a fascinating discussion that this is actually a chiddush of the Chassam Sofer, not about these Tosas Rid, okay, but there's an idea that's discussed. So you should just know that this svara is out there. The Chassam Sofer has a chiddush. There's a rush. It's based on a rush, but the rush doesn't exactly say what the Chassam Sofer says. But he takes a rush and he expounds upon it. We know that the time that a person becomes a bar mitzvah, right, which is the full amount of das that a person has, is the age of 13. Okay? Says the Rush in a tshuva. The Rush writes in a tshuva that age of 13 is what we're going to call a shear, okay, a shear. The shear of the amount of das that a person needs, right? Shin, Yud, Ayin, Vav, Vavre, whatever it is. The shear of das a person needs is 13. Says the Rush does point this out, that the Gemara has a comment, the Gemara at the beginning of Sukkah, beginning of Eruvin. The Gemara has a comment that Shi'urim, all the different measurements that we care about in halacha, are a halacha l'moshe misina. Okay? How do we know a kazayas for that? Halacha moshe misina. How do we know a kibetza for that? Halacha moshe misina. And the Rush says that bar mitzvah, the age of 12, is also a shir, halacha l'moshe misina. Okay. Here's now a chiddush of Chassam Sofer. Says the Chassam Sofer, if that's true, that gadolus is a shear, okay? That's a halacha l'moshe misinai, okay? Says the Chassam Sofer, when I'm dealing with a goy, when I'm dealing with a non-Jew who halacha l'moshe misinai doesn't apply to at all, so then we don't recognize gadolus as being an age, like an automatic 13, boom, you become a gadol. Says the Chassam Sofer, for the umos ha'olam, the idea of being a gadol is subjective. Whenever you become a ben das, boom, you're smart or good. So we assume that you reach a stage of gadolus already. That's a chiddush of the Chassam Sofer. The age of 13, we don't recognize that concept when it comes to goy. So now here we have a possible pshat. It's really going to say it very, very quickly. You can cut to this later and ask me about it later also. Says maybe the pshat in the Tosas Rid is like this. When the person wants to make a macha, okay, the Rid says he can make a macha already when he's a bardas before bar mitzvah age. Why? Because the macha is what's going to make the person into a goy. He's casting away his Yiddishkeit, right? And for a goy, when you're acting, you're becoming the goy. You're right. Being mechadish, your goyishkeit, the age of 13 doesn't make a difference to you. You're enough of a gadol when you're a bardas. So you can make a macha then. The only thing is that if you actually want to confirm that you're Jewish, right? So actual Yiddishkeit, you're acting like a Jew, you want that option, Then the age of 13 is the shear of when you become a gadol. And the fact that you might be pretty darn intelligent and very, very smart, that doesn't make you into a gadol anymore. So says the Rid, the age that you can already make a macha and become a goy, that's when you're a bar das. But when is it too late? That's only when you actually reach bar mitzvah. Because at that age and on, right, then you've reached the shear of gadlus for a Yisrael, and now you're actually going to be a Yisrael. So that could explain the split in the ages according to the Tosas Rid. Okay, we are going to pause over here. Number 14, 15, 16 are their own unit, like unto themselves, which are going to analyze Amir Seshem on Sunday with a great Yam Shlomo, and then we get into a lot of practical things based on that also. So there's a lot of good stuff that is yet to come. Reminder, two things we're going to remind you that then get out of here. Number one is that as you might remember, instead of Fad with me this afternoon, you have the unbelievable question answer time with Rekaf and Rabbi Hirsch. So we want to pelt them with as much stuff, with some fresh faces, people you haven't seen or spoken or heard from, like that, for a little while. So we're glad to get some more, some what do you call fresh blood into the lineup over here. I also sent you, I don't know if you saw, but we sent out on the official Kayetzman chat a long, actually it might have even been 6 pages, like it was like a little long, shiur on some of the inyanim relating to the Tochacha in Parshas B'chukosai. As you remember, like Chumash wise, like we don't have a Chumash Seder officially right now. We were asking everyone to try to keep up, learning Chumash. So this shiur we ask you to try to print, and you can be able to look through it over Shabbos. Maybe learn with your siblings, parents, whoever you can. A lot of very, very important ideas about Parashas B'chukosai and the Tochacha. There will be some kind of, I'm being honest, like very easy quiz, next week, so we can officially have like a Chumash, thing that we can hand in for the grades, because we are being monitored with those things, also. And I'm not gonna cheat for you, but it's like if you learn the sheet, will not be hard to do. But the sheet is not the easiest thing in the world, so please make sure to print that and spend some time long Shabbos afternoon. So please spend some time going through that over there. Have a great Shabbos if I don't speak to you beforehand, and we will be in touch. Hatzlacha to all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy Shabbos, Rabbi.
Be well.